Hello, everybody, and welcome to Stoked, the ultimate Star Trek online podcast. This is episode 119, and my name is Chris, and I want to say good morning to all of the fine folks in the JBLive.tv chat room who are rocking out this week's episode. We have a big show this week. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're doing this Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Well, actually, it's 12:22 now that we're getting going because we've already been taping a ton of the show. This episode concludes the trilogy of DOFF guides that we've been doing. In the first episode, we interviewed Heretic, the father of the DOFF system, and got a little bit of sneak peek of where the DOFF system might be going. In the second episode, Irish joined us, and he covered the beginner's basics to the DOFF system. And now in this episode, we conclude it with our advanced tips, but not just advanced tips that you'll actually be able to use the DOFF system to make your regular gameplay even better, things to give you buffs throughout the game that allow you to become an even superior player by utilizing the DOFF system. That's coming up in this episode. But not only that, we've got an extra large community feedback with double devs. Jamz is joining us, of course, the new ship creator over in STOked. And not just Jamz, but also Jeff Miller, brand new to the Starship art team. I think it's like his third day there. And he joins us to chat about their inspirations from Star Trek, if they find difficulties and restraints in the IP. And we'll even talk to Jamz about his introduction to the forums and what kind of a fiery thread that became. That's all coming up in community feedback. But before we chat about all of that stuff, I thought we'd cover a couple of things that happened this week in the world of Stoked. I'll go through them pretty quick, just in case you already know about them. But if you don't, or if you didn't get a chance to see some of them, this will be your quick recap. Of course, on Friday, Hearts and Minds, not of Hearts, but Hearts and Minds hit the game. And this was a new mini mission to sort of celebrate Friday the 13th. It was only available for a very short period of time, although I wouldn't be too surprised if we don't see it on a more regular basis, depending on what the event is, like maybe future Friday the 13th. A lot of criticism for this little mini mission, even though I felt like pretty early on, Cryptic was sort of trying to set the expectations by calling it a mini mission. I did get a chance to play it. It was about 8 to 10 minutes worth of gameplay, but in that 8 to 10 minutes, there is an environmental hazard. There is a mini game that Thomas the Cryptic Cat talked a little bit about last week. In there, there's also a decent concept, some interesting loot, and a DOFF that we'll talk about in the DOFF section. Though, it's only about 10 minutes long. And honestly, after I got done playing it, I sort of was left wanting more, and I kind of wondered why didn't they go the route of promoting some sort of Foundry competition? Where maybe 3 months ago they say, all right, Foundry authors, whip up your best Friday the 13th mission, and then we'll take it in-house and we'll tack on some extra perks like the DOFF reward, the weapon reward, those kinds of things. And that'll sort of be a way to seed the Foundry with some enthusiasm, plus get us a good mission to feature that we can kind of wrap with some cryptic bennies. I kind of think I would have preferred to go that route. And a lot of people in the community were pretty rough. In fact, some people took to the forums, and Dan Stahl was finally compelled to post there and said, enough, too much of the personal attacking over this episode. The criticism's getting kind of direct and aimed at one particular employee. And, you know, I honestly am not a fan of that. When the forums get nasty, I think I'd like to keep it, you know, people have just jobs that they have to do, and I don't think it's fair to make it personal with them, but people obviously weren't very happy. He went on to defend the person and kind of recant what they've done since the free-to-play launch, which honestly is a fairly impressive list. But what I thought was really interesting is he actually spilled the beans on some Season 6 details. Now, not things we didn't know entirely, like we know they're working on Starship fleet bases, blah, 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 blah. But what we don't know is the specifics, and he gave us some. So here we go. On top of Season 6 is under heavy development, which will bring new Defera-like ground invasions, several new 5-man events, new 20-man fleet events that take place at your starbase, along with starbase construction missions, the start of a PvP overhaul, new Foundry content, and anything else like tonight's episode that someone on the team wants to spend their own time after hours making. That's definitely Daniel Stahl says some stuff. And it's some details there. I mean, I think what I'm particularly pulling out of that is there's a 20-man fleet event, which sounds incredible. But the other thing he teases is a fun little Friday the 13th episode was great. But next week, as in the week that this episode launches, you'll be getting a level 51 shuttle 5-man mission. Now, if you've been reading the tea leaves, we've heard teases that the Vault might be getting sort of a reintroduction. And we also saw that the Jem'Hadar shield set now got on the tooltip. It's part of a set. Well, or no, the Reman, I'm sorry, not Jem'Hadar, the Reman. That would make sense to go in conjunction with the Vault, wouldn't it, since that's a Romulan area. So very interesting things coming out. So we're going to have something to look forward to next weekend, which I'm sure we'll cover here on the show. But what I find really fascinating is sort of he's laying it out there. There's going to be star bases. You're going to be doing these things with the star bases. He also addresses the issue and complaints of lockboxes, which the lockboxes are back this week. This time they're Ferengi lockboxes, which is kind of an adorable take on it. And the last ones I was not really all that thrilled about. And while I'm not overly excited about these ones, at least there's some kind of decent loot in these ones that I wouldn't mind getting. Mainly, I'll jump right to the big one, is the new Takara class ship, which looks like it has some pretty nice capabilities, including this new console that has got a great marketing name, just perfect for something the Ferengi would be selling. It's a universal console, by the way, and it's called Battle Module 3000, and it's like an EMP pulse that has these things that come out in all different directions that look very slick. And I gotta say, it's got a few other specs on it that make me rather interested in getting it, one of them being a turn rate of 8. You compare that with the Odyssey's 5. This is going to be a significantly more mobile ship. I don't know. It might be enough to compel me to try to do the lottery boxes here, because I think that these things are, while in the past maybe had some items in there that I didn't really want, and so I wasn't quite as compelled to get involved, there's not really anything on this list that I wouldn't mind ending up with. So I say, if the dilithium exchange rate is good and I'm feeling up for it, I might go for one of those lock boxes, but we'll see. A couple other notes before we jump on is the STFs will be getting some tweaking. Gozer posted in the forum, including one that I think a lot of you will be interested in, as he said the drop rate for tech tools will be increased, although very slightly. There's a lot of other things that go on there, including some respawn timers and things like that. But I tell you what, instead of covering all of them right now, although I'll link to the forum posts if you want to read them, we're going to try to get Gozer on the show next week and talk STFs in general, including some of these changes. So if you have questions about the STF changes that you'd like us to shoot over at Gozer, well, if we're able to get them on, that is, you can email them to STOked@jupiterbroadcasting.com, and we'll include those in that episode. One last little bit of business before we run, actually two last little bits of business. First one is the Foundry Files will be moving out into its own show soon. These shows have been so packed with content that we haven't been able to fit a Foundry Files in, but we really want to focus on Foundry content because it's new episodic mission content that's getting really, really good. And we need you guys to know about it so that way you know what's in this game. I mean, it's some of the best stuff I've seen for a long time. The guys have got 2 missions ready to go in the queue that they want to review. We're going to shoot those and then release them as separate episodes. We'll still be including the Foundry Files in Stoked from time to time, but we think if we branch it out, maybe we can do something more frequently. Plus, it'll sort of be like a supplement. Not like when Kramer went off and got his own show from Seinfeld. Not like that at all. No. More like when Elaine went off and got her own show on CBS, and it's still going. That's crazy. It's going to be more like Elaine, less like Kramer. So look forward for more information for that, and we'll include links in the show notes. The one last bit of information before we jump into community feedback, though, is I want to remind you that Stoked is a community-supported show by the viewers, and we have made it super easy and a little bit of fun to do that. If you go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com and you scroll all the way down to the very bottom of our site, you will see some links down here for Amazon US, UK, Newegg, Newegg, which honestly, I freaking love Newegg, ThinkGeek, Best Buy, Mint.com, Audible. I love all of these things. That's why they are our affiliates. And if you click on one of those before you shop, your shopping session gets tagged to give credit to Jupiter Broadcasting, and we make revenue off of a portion of your purchases. It's from anything from office supplies to engagement rings. We make a portion of the purchase, and we really appreciate it. Also, over there, we have links for a Chrome extension. If you install that Chrome extension, it automatically tags your shopping session at those sites. You don't have to worry about the links. And we have a Firefox extension in beta testing right now, which I think I'll probably be telling you more about next week. Thank you sincerely to everybody who supports the development and continued production of Stoked by using those or by donating directly over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. All right, well, normally we do community feedback at the end of the show, but it's packed full of so much information, and it's such a great chat that we're going to do it next. So let's go into community feedback. And welcome to Community Feedback. We got a big one for you this week. In fact, not only is Mav here, but we've also got two devs from Cryptic, and they're rather new guys themselves, and new to the podcasting scene as well. First up is Jamz. Jamz, welcome to the show, or I should say Ian Richards, right?
That's me. Hello.
Hello, Jamz. And then also joining us is another ship artist who I believe sits right next to you, and that's Jeff Miller. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Guys, we have a bunch of questions that the viewers have sent in, and Mav has compiled an epic list. So I'm gonna let Mav get to that in a moment, but I thought I'd ask some of our introduction questions that we're asking a lot of the guys that we bring on here. And we'll start with Jamz, and then Jeff, you just feel free to chip in, or when Jamz is wrapped up, I'll toss it to you. So why don't you define exactly, Jamz, what you do at Cryptic?
Well, I'm the lead ship artist, so I've taken all the responsibilities that Captain Logan used to have. So in regards to new ships they're getting designed, I have a lot of say in how they're actually created. And you know, I lead the charge on like the really new stuff, like the new decor that came out, and what the functionality of how that looks, and like the new features that it comes with that are beyond the norm of regular ships. So.
Wow. Okay. And Jeff, what about you?
Well, seeing that this is like my second day starting on ships, I've been working on some secret projects right now, so getting that all finished up, and just assisting Ian in any way I can.
Very cool. So now that you guys are working in a Star Trek franchise, I got to ask you, are there any Star Trek series or anything from Star Trek that you draw influence from in your designs? Do you look towards any specific thing?
Well, I always started looking at a lot of the new Enterprise show, just because a lot of the ships in there, you see a lot of alien ships, and they're very well more thought out so than like the original series. And it's good to see what they've done there, and like the ideas they've borrowed from other ships, and then try to keep that kind of consistent. Like technology is technology, and in this universe, this is how it works. So it's probably got to look a little bit similar. So using that as kind of a guideline. And then just going beyond that, I mean, Star Trek has to be an influence. It has to look like it can fit in the universe, even if it's a cube, you know. So, and there's enough reference right now, I think, in all the TV shows and the movies that we can really draw a lot from that, and then bring in our own ideas and still have it mesh pretty well.
So I think I picked up on it, but I'll ask both of you. Would you say that you find more inspiration from the Starfleet designs, or have those sort of been so thoroughly explored that there's more inspiration in the alien ships that are out there?
There's definitely a lot more to do with alien ships. This Federation has a lot of boundaries, which is good and bad. It's good because you know exactly how it should look in parts of it, and you know which walls you can push out. With aliens, there are no boundaries, so you kind of get overwhelmed pretty quick. And it's pretty easy to kind of scrap an entire idea and start fresh.
Right. And you don't have quite, there's also probably, sorry not to cut you off, but there's probably like less of expectation, right, of what exactly it should look like.
Right. People know what Starfleet ships look like. And if you just take a saucer, a neck, and some nacelles in a hull, and you're good. You can probably make it look like a Starfleet ship pretty easy. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that?
For me, as I was growing up, you know, I watched Star Trek, the original series, with my mom, and ever since then, I kind of lost interest. But now that I'm here working at Cryptic, you know, I have Netflix, so I've been watching a lot of Star Trek to get, you know, up to date with what we're doing here. And for me, I think the alien ships, I'd have to agree with Ian, like, the alien ships, for me, are a lot easier to do, in a sense, because we have a little bit more freedom on what they look like, and not restricted to the TV shows, you know. So,
but you must find there is a strong pull from the audience or from the player base. They probably primarily want Federation ships, I would think, right?
Well, yeah, there's more Federation players than anything else, and they kind of expect certain Federation ships to be built. But we can't just make Federation ships. We got to make ships for you to fight and blow up, and
That's true.
The odd alien ships for you to fight. I mean, we can't leave the KDF alone.
Right, right.
So there's a lot of stuff that's coming that's non-Federation, and there's a lot of stuff that's coming out that is definitely Federation. So
it's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, Mav, I'll let you take over from here because I know that we have gotten a ton of questions. You've gone through like a lot of the feedback and sort of boiled it down to some of the biggest ones. So I'll kick it to you, sir. What is our first question from the audience?
Well, first, gentlemen, welcome to Stoked, both of you being the ships guys. I have been compiling questions over the last month. Excited when Ian came on board as the new ships designer. So we're going to kind of go through some of these questions. Some of them have been kind of answered through my research and some of them not, but we would like to just get it directly from you guys. One of the first questions from the community is, with the new Odyssey ship now being the biggest, Fed ship in the game, what happens with the other Star Cruiser type ships? It's not the biggest anymore. It's not the most, the Star Cruisers used to be the biggest and most powerful, but now it seems it's shifted toward the Odyssey. Is there any plans to scale up the Star Cruisers or have another type of advanced Star Cruiser in the mix, or is it just kind of going to get kind of mothballed?
Right now, I haven't heard anything about it. I know one thing we're pushing for is giving ships a niche to fill, and trying to not overlap that all the time or a lot.
Okay.
It's perfectly possible that sometime in the future we'll do something with it that gives it a purpose again, but I think right now it's probably just going to be left the way it is for the time being.
Okay. Well, that kind of segues into another question. Are we planning to see, you're saying ships fitting a niche. Are we going to see a +1 refit of the Sovereign? Most specifically the one from, like Nemesis. The ship was the end-all be-all of the Next Generation, and by all accounts it fits the canon perfectly.
It's a beautiful ship.
Sure is.
We've seen +1 versions of the Galaxy and the refit and the Dreadnought, but are we looking to see anything for the Sovereign?
Simply put, definitely.
All right. I look forward to that. Okay. That's a good one.
Big time. Now, this is going to fit kind of your aliens ships question, and I've had a couple times this has come up. Do we see the possibility of seeing a Borg fusion cube in the future? For those that may or may not know, the Borg fusion cube was a cube that was introduced in another game, and it's basically a combination of about eight Borg cubes to mash into one. Sounds like you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy.
That in and of itself, that little hint there makes it seem like you guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's frightening to think. Borg cubes already one-shot you.
Yeah.
I don't know what 8 Borg cubes will do to you.
Some people love the challenge.
I guess flying back to the Borg cube is a challenge.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about it. It's possible. I'd like to focus on not Borg stuff, but
interesting.
That's not really my decision. But I think Jeff also would like to focus on not Borg things.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So
at least for right now.
And there's tons more we can do with Borg. Don't get me wrong, tons and tons and tons.
Right.
But there's lots of other aliens out there that are all kinds of powerful, and some might be more powerful than the Borg. So.
Oh, I have an idea of a couple. I have a deal of a couple.
Yeah, so do I. Here's one. Some people have been asking, and again, I'm sure you've heard a lot of these before. The Constitution class. Are we going to see a Tier 5 version, or maybe even a holo costume of the Connie?
That's the new approach.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a holo costume that you get from in GPL, and then you have it at Tier 5 with any ship you have. That's what I'd like to see. Any talk of that, you guys?
I haven't heard anything about it, but that's definitely the way to do it. I think if we want to bring all the old ships back, put it in a little holo costume thing. That'd be,
yeah.
I'm perfectly okay
that just seems like cool. The way to go.
It's such a beautiful ship.
Then the people who really want to fly it, let them fly their powerful ship and just it looks like something else.
Right. Yeah.
Make them work for it.
Okay.
One generic question that came up is, over the next 2 years, do we plan on seeing any of, any other ships I've seen, or do we have any ideas for Lethian ships, Tholians, Iconians possibly, maybe even the Federation Ambassador class, which I keep hearing a lot about. A lot of people keep asking, where's the Ambassador? Why can't we just have one of every the Enterprise ships in there?
Yeah. Right. Well, 2 years is a long time.
I
think in 2 years we can probably finish all of the IP ships, honestly.
Okay.
It just requires content to fit them all in. The ambassador's on the list. It's on there. It's not on the top of the list. There are at least a dozen ships between now and it. The Federation. But some of the other ships, like what?
The Federation constellation, maybe.
Perhaps. I think the Vesta is actually ahead of that.
The Vesta, okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of ships. There's a lot of things we need to do, especially with Season 6 coming out. There's gonna be a pile of ships that are gonna come with that.
You say some of your influences come from Enterprise, the Andorian Kumari, possibly?
I would like to do that. I definitely want to do a lot more alien ships that are aligned with the Federation, kind of like what we did with the Vulcan ship.
Okay.
I think that would help, because kind of like the Klingons, they have their Klingon ships, and they have their Orion, the Gorn, and all that. I think we need to do that with the Federation. Make it look more like an alliance of races and not just all these aliens flying human ships.
Interesting, yeah.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
As far as shuttles, are we going to be looking at any other possible shuttles, say the Vulcan Surak, or the shuttle that Admiral Janeway had, the SC4?
Yeah.
We're working on a lot more shuttle content for the game. And right now, we're kind of waiting on that to push the shuttle creation of ships on the ship end.
Okay.
So definitely want to do more shuttles. I think the shuttle combat's a lot of fun. In the next few weeks, you're going to find out more about that.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely shuttles, and if it's in the show, we probably want to do it, especially Janeway's shuttle. That thing is awesome. A blade of armor on a shuttle is the greatest.
Yes, yeah, that was one of the ones I saw that somebody suggested. I thought, yeah, that just looks like it could totally fit. Now that the Marauder's been introduced, are they going to be coming up with other skins or other types of Ferengi ships that do you see any more of those coming down the line? I know we did see many of them in the actual show, but
I think there's only 4 episodes with the Decora in it, and then like 2 or 3 with the shuttle pod. We'd like to do more, but I think the offshoots of those ones that aren't necessarily entire races aligned with one side or the other, I think we're probably going to leave those to the one-off ships.
Okay.
For the chance box. So if it's not something that's like obviously part of the Federation or obviously part of the Klingon Federation Empire, then
something that's not quite mainline.
Ferengis are for the most part, they kind of do their own thing. The Cardassians are like, yeah, we're doing our own thing.
Right.
So we'll probably see stuff like that. So if you think of a race, if it's not definitely aligned with somebody, they're probably on the list somewhere in someone's mind for the chance box.
Okay. Any ideas on a possible, I know we're going back to the Federation ships, any idea on the possible Tier 5 for the Akira class? A lot of people, there's a lot of love for those.
Yeah, I would love to actually take the Thunderchild. I love the Thunderchild. I love what Logan did to it, and make a Tier 5 version of it, kind of like what happened to the Defiant.
Oh, okay.
I think it'd be the coolest, but that kind of stuff is beyond what I do. I don't decide, hey, this ship's a Tier 5 ship. It just, someone's like, hey, we need this art, we need it to look cool, or we need it to look not as cool.
Right.
And I'll do it. So
I gotcha.
Roger that.
But I would love it. As a player, I think that would be ultra cool. I'd love to fly a Thunderchild around, or any of the Akira classes, and even with an extra refit, set of variant choices. That'd be really cool.
Now, I know you were talking about the Vesta class a little earlier. We just kind of mentioned it. Are they looking, with the way the Odyssey was released, one tailored kind of ship for each job class? You think they're going to continue to work that kind of model for ships in the future, especially something larger and bigger like the Vesta?
I think so. I think it's definitely safe to say. I think it worked really well. It let players who were like, well, I'm a science player. I don't need this new cruiser that came out. It lets players actually get a chance to fly the really cool new ship that came out, and I think it's pretty important, not only for keeping the company alive, but keeping the players happy, and not releasing one ship that only fits 1/6 of the players because it's only half the factions, and it's only one of the archetypes that gets to use it. So I think making ships for as many people as possible is probably the way to do it, and it's an easy way to say, hey, this one's refit for science, this one's refit for tactical use. So I think we'll push it more than we did with the Odyssey. The Odyssey is still pretty consolidated. It's pretty similar across the board. But I think with something like the Vesta, it would be perfectly reasonable to see something that's like, oh, the tactical one gets to use cannons because it got upgraded a little bit for that purpose. So.
Okay. Now, pushing all the Fed talk aside, let's give the KDF a little love here. With all the ships, we saw, obviously the Bortosk come out, to complement the Odyssey. Is that going to be also something that Crypto's going to look at when it comes out with new ships? Are they going to kind of release side and side, here's what we're giving Feds, here's now a ship for the Klingon? Is that going to be kind of the model that they're looking at doing now? Yeah,
definitely. I think we're going to try to push for that. Not all ships can do that. And that's one of the things, if we do an alien ship, it might be easier to, do a counterpart to them.
Okay.
Human Romulan kind of thing. That's kind of fair to give once. They have their opposites. I think what we did with the Boris was good, but it took a ton of work to basically have two ships, because they were completely different ships, really. They may function similarly, but it took a huge amount of time on our part to create two ships. So, cutting corners is the best way to do it, but still keeping the quality high. And if that means something like the chance box ships, where here's a ship that both sides can use, and taking that idea and bringing it to the rest of the game, it would be awesome, I think, and still keeping the factions separated enough.
Okay, so with that design concept in mind, do you guys find it harder to develop? I mean, I know we said earlier that Federation ships are kind of this nacelle, that nacelle, this hull, that hull, and this saucer, and boom, you got a Federation ship. Do you guys find it a lot harder? I mean, I understand there's some more freedom, but do you find it harder creating ships for the KDF?
I wouldn't say it's harder. There's still a lot of design rules. If you're making a Raptor, it needs to look like a Raptor, and there's a lot of rules that make a Raptor a Raptor. There are a lot of shapes and design features and elements, and the location of those elements make a huge difference in exactly what is defined as a Raptor. You can't just make a big bird of prey and call it a Raptor. That's not right. So, similarly, you can't put a big sphere on the front of a galaxy and be like, it's a science ship now, guys, look. It's not going to work. So I would say it can be easier. It might be more entertaining at times, just because you can do a lot more, because there's a lot less IP related to everything that's not Federation. So
which is why you guys love the alien stuff so much.
Right? Yeah, we get to do what we want,
because it's basically free run with a generator and with a Genesis generator. You got a random alien. Oh, now we can create any kind of number of looking ships.
Yeah.
It could be behind in technology. It could be ahead in technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think doing that, and even doing refits of older IP ships, like the decor I had in mind, that was the idea of this is the 2409 version. This is the one that was refit for use with the Federation and the Klingon Empire. This isn't the one that you saw on the show exactly. So I think doing that in mind with a lot of alien ships, we have a lot of freedom, even if we use IP as direct inspiration. Like if we remake another Vulcan ship, okay, it might look a lot like it, but hey, we're making the refit version because they also made the updated, this isn't, the last century's version. So.
Okay, this may be kind of unfair, but do you guys find yourself sometimes bound to the IP, where it's like you want to do something but you can't?
A little bit. Not really. Star Trek is pretty wide open IP, really. I mean, we have everything from crazy streamlined ships that are tubes to cubes to spheres, and we have all sorts of high frequency detailed stuff, and all sorts of ships that are asymmetrical. Some are symmetrical. Some have 3 engines. Some have 2. Some have 1. Some have 6. There's nothing that really stops you, but it's trying to make something that looks aligned with a certain faction or look familiar to somebody who's never seen it before. They go, oh, that's a Federation ship that I've never seen before, or that's a Klingon ship I've never seen before, and that's the challenge, I think. Yeah, and that we are bound to a certain amount, but I think that's part of what makes it entertaining and fun to actually do.
It was kind of interesting. I have a screenshot. I didn't have it ready for the show, but hopefully we'll have it ready in post. It was of Utopia Planitia, and it was a glitch where all the ships kind of stacked one on top of the other on the holo emitter.
Yeah.
And it looked like it had 18 engines. It had an upper saucer, middle saucer, lower saucer. Hopefully we'll get it up so that people can see it here.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious looking. Yeah. It was just that's the next ship. Look at it. It's the biggest it's the biggest cruiser that they'll ever make.
6 kilometers long.
We'll just call it the carrier and put it out there. It was just ginormous. It was hilarious.
Now, Jamz, I want to ask you a question regarding sort of your introduction to the community, because when you came on, there was a bit of a bumpy introduction in the forums and some controversy stirred up. Now, looking back on that now, are you kind of surprised by the sort of reaction? And also, are you a little timid now to go in the forums? What is your reflection on that?
I was a little surprised. I'm timid to share my opinion on the forums now.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if people who've read the thread, they know I think the Ambassador class is not an attractive ship compared to the Odyssey or even the Sovereign. I love the Sovereign, but that's my opinion, and that's what it is. I make no decisions about how the ships actually work stat-wise in game. I make no decision on how powerful they are, how fast they turn, or anything like that.
Right.
The only decision I make is like when the Dokora, we just released it, like the transform mode that it comes with. I spearheaded that. I really wanted that to happen. So, and I'm gonna try to keep that kind of quality with all of the ships, even if it is the Ambassador. Now, I might not like how it looks, but I'm gonna make it look like it should, and all the variants are gonna look really awesome for it when it comes on the table. Definitely.
And it's going to be tough because the ship design stuff has probably got to be one of the areas where everybody feels like they have an opinion, and everybody's going to want to really push hard when they don't like something. So it's got to be a tight line to walk.
Yeah, everybody has some input. I mean, when I'm sitting here working on a new ship like I am right now, somebody's going to come by every few minutes and be like, "Oh, let me see it. Oh, you should do this with that ship." And Jeff knows exactly what I'm talking about too.
Yep.
So it's a balance between listening to certain things that make sense, and then balancing the time, making sure that you get it done on time, and
what technically can be done, I'm sure, as well.
So, and there's a lot of things that technically are hard to do and are time consuming, like with the whole Galaxy X fiasco. It's some things it's all possible. It just takes time, and sometimes there's other things that need to be pushed first. So.
Well, and it sounds like Season 6 is going to be quite an update for ship fans.
Yes, there are, I think it's 10 new ships that are on the schedule for sure right now.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Can you tell us anything about them, or is it all under wraps still?
I've already told you some about them.
Yeah, okay. It's all in there. You just got to pick it out.
And you've already seen some of them in game.
Okay.
Just some of them are refits. Some of them are... I want to tell you everything, but I can't.
Good man, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, right. There's going to be new material options, refit versions, and it's all going to be based around the fleet system. So,
very interesting.
Do you think they'll let you use Utopia Planitia as your personal launch?
I wish.
Map? It's like every time you come up with a ship, and hopefully the KDF will have their version. But with Utopia Planitia, every time you come up with a new ship, it's like, okay, this is now my ship, and it's launching from here.
I think it would be really cool if every time we released a new ship, it showed up at Utopia Planitia, and everyone got to go and look at it. And
I mean, you could kind of just park the model.
Yeah, even take it for a test drive. You do the quest, and you get 5 minutes to fly around Utopia Planitia with your ship, and you're like, okay, I want to buy this thing. This thing's cool.
Yeah, if I ever did that, I'd have to buy every one I ever tried. I'm such a ship hound. So, guys, is there anything you want to cover before we run?
Anything else you guys want to ask us?
I don't know. I feel like there is, but I don't know.
Oh,
I feel like
there was so much from the
community.
Have
a lot of interest in what you guys do. The people out there who watch the show send in tons and tons of questions regarding ships, and so it's an area that I think we could probably look over a lot of the feedback we got and come up with a whole nother set of questions for you guys down the road if you ever want to come back.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll definitely
I'm definitely down. I didn't have much to say this time around because I'm new on the ship team and everything. But
this is like literally your third day, right?
Well, I've been at Cryptic now for like 2 months. I was working as an environment artist, not affiliated with the ships. But since Captain Logan left, I'm now assisting Jamz here.
Gotcha. So yeah, absolutely, guys. Well, it sounds like there might even particularly be some things to talk about with Season 6 in the future, and maybe some future ship stuff. So, I think we'll definitely chat in the future.
Yeah, we'll have to do it before Season 6. I want to spill some beans on that.
I was about to say we can get you guys both back on. You can
right on.
Hit us with some teasers and some pics, and we'll get you on just before Season 6 hits.
I'll go bug the EP and see what he
good man.
See what he'll let me say.
As soon as you're ready, we'll have you on a future.
All right, I will let you
know where to find us.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for chatting with Stoke.
Well, thank you very much.
And welcome to Tactical View. Today is the conclusion of our DOFF trilogy, and it's the part 2 of our DOFF guide. And this time it's the advanced section. And both Brooklyn and Silverwings join me today. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the show. And
hi, it's good to be back.
And Irish was going to join us, but a little scheduling snafu prevented that. But that's okay. I'll pick up his spot because there was a couple of items we kind of wanted to follow up or include as an addendum to last week's guide. Number one is trade-in missions, where you swap 5 lower quality DOFs for 1 DOF of the next quality level up. They do have a small dilithium cost, so check before you complete the transaction, because I believe we mentioned them last week, but didn't mention the dilithium cost aspect of them. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Trade-in NPCs offer you the chance to receive a DOF of a specific species. Department head and shipboard assignments reflect each other currently, which negates the need to zone into your ship and check every sector. Now, this one I don't quite grok. Brooklyn, can you jump in on that one? Or Silver Wings? Department heads or shipboard assignments reflect each other currently, which negates the need to zone into your ship for every sector. What's that mean?
Well, when you switch over to your window for the DOF jobs, there's a little department head section that lets you click on your various department heads. You'll get a few of the missions that they feature on the ship, so you don't need to beam down and travel to them. You still can, because there's an expanded list when you go to them, but a couple of the missions are already thrown up there for you.
That makes total sense. All right, just a couple of last quick ones. This is a good one to know. Unlocking repeatable assignments is crucial to efficiency gaining, and CXP for Tier 3 and Tier 4 ranks, where the targets are 50k and 100k respectively. Also, something else to think about just for the DOF community in general is if you pick up these rare assignments on your ship, consider posting them in the DOF Jobs channel and inviting others to your bridge so they can get the assignments as well, which makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of a social aspect of the DOF system. So I'm sure Brooklyn encourages everybody to do the DOF Jobs channel. And then also check the list of special duty officers for rare and ultra rare DOFs that you may want. So those notes are in the show notes. All of this will be in the show notes, but those are a couple of things that sort of snapped into last week's guide. But let's shift gears now and go into the advanced section of the DOF guide, including some dilithium tips and things like that from Brooklyn. So take it away, Brooklyn. What do you got?
All right. Well, firstly, I gotta clarify a little bit. There's 2 channels now. It's not just DOF jobs. There's DOF calls. So because too many people chat in DOF jobs, and that's a natural thing. So they set up a separate channel just for those alerts, just so people could throw up what's available, and
So what channel is it for the alerts?
For the alerts, DOF calls.
Okay. DOF calls. Okay.
Just to clarify, when we'll mention this again.
And that's one word
for everyone else. Yes, one word. DOFFCALLS, I think. Okay. Now to the real meat of the matter, the dilithium attainment tips. Number 1, okay, very simple. Basically, in the center of ESD, there's an NPC who gives a few DOF missions. One of these turn in 3 contraband for 2,000 dilithium ore, and it's on a 2-hour timer per character. The KDF equivalent of this mission is in the Great Hall in First City. There's recently the 24-hour cooldown on this mission disappeared. It's unknown if it was intentional or a bug. So get it while you can, folks. The KDF can pick up lots of contraband from marauding assignments, and mailing those items to Fed characters on your account can allow you to run multiple versions of this mission at the same time, thus maximizing the dilithium gains.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe the Ferengi have kind of gotten themselves involved. Now, also, the 800 Veteran Day Award to those of you on lifetime subs or long-time subscribers grants access to a new dilithium assignment down on at the various academies for either faction that allow you to refine 1,000 dilithium above their 8,000 daily limit on the cap.
There you go. Now, one of the things that you can't get away from when you're doing the DOF system is travel, and Silver Wings has some efficient travel tips, don't you, Silver?
Yep. So sector speed is, to begin with, it's pretty slow. We start off about warp 7, but later, when you reach endgame in particular, you can reach much higher warp speeds. So the Borg engine, when you get to, I think, level 45, that is still the cheapest and fastest way to get around sector space, with a base speed of warp 14. The Omega Force engine gives you the chance of having slipstream twice as often. So instead of having a 2-minute cooldown, it's only 1 minute.
Very handy.
This isn't in the tooltip though, but it is definitely verified in game.
Okay. I'm reading the chat room right now, and they've got a whole bunch of different suggestions for their efficient travel tips. Most efficient travel is have an Alted account opening, sitting where you want to go, and then bridge invite yourself to that bridge. And then, also the Odyssey ship has a pretty significant speed as well. So those are interesting little tips there. I don't know about the alt account. That seems like you got to be pretty hardcore. I don't know about that.
No, the bridge tip is actually a very great tip because
But you got to have another account, man.
But it's free to play. You set up a free account, and many people, well, not everyone, but many people will have a spare laptop or even a second monitor if your computer is strong enough. Run 2 instances, and there you go.
I'm so used to paying for. I got the mindset of a lifetimer. You wouldn't need to be a lifer on an account like that. It could be a Freebird account. Totally, there'd be no reason not to. Good point. All right, Silver, I'll let you take it back.
For the skill tree, I think it's the lieutenant tier. You have the driver coil skill, which not only one of its benefits is boosting your warp speed directly.
Okay.
Only for certain engines, though. So I believe it's just the Mako engine and Borg engine, which are boosted above warp 10. But in the lower ranks, you can boost that warp 7 up to warp 9 as well.
Okay, that's handy.
So it's beneficial for both low-end accounts and the high-end accounts as well. Diplomatic community and raiding party buffs, which you get from the diplomatic and marauding accommodation missions, you can then give those to other people. And one of those buffs is to increase your warp speed again. So that lasts for, I think, an hour. Is that right, Brooklyn?
No, I believe it's only a few seconds. You get a couple of minutes for diplomatic community before it wears off.
Oh, really? I thought it was lasts an hour because I've done it doing Tour of the Universe.
We'd have to do some verifying, but as far as I remember, you only get a few minutes to get diplomatic immunity before it wears off. Oh, well, the IRC channel, they're all saying it lasts an hour, so I'm going to crowdsource this. I'm going to go with the channel says. 1 hour.
Go with the hive mind. The collective is always right. The collective is perfect. All right, Silver, continue.
One of the things which I'll probably bring up in the later segment is one of the assignments you get during the DOFF assignments. It gives you a direct buff to your driver coil skill. It's a plus 25 and it lasts for 2 hours. So that again can boost it even further.
Nice.
I think some people have claimed that your top warp speed can reach into the 40s.
Yeah.
Or at least the high 30s at least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I can see that.
So the Excelsior, it has its transwarp console, but also part of the diplomatic and marauding assignments you have. For each tier, you get access to another sector of the galaxy. So you start off with your home space. Then I believe you go to Romulan space. And then you end up with Cardassian space as well. So if you do suddenly, I need to pick up some SDF gear, you can just hit the transwarp button and pop to Cardassian space, and that's particularly useful for the Klingons.
Yeah.
The astrometric scientist, DOFF, if you put that in your active space duty tab, you can reduce your cooldown for the transwarps. So instead of having 15 minutes cooldown, you can take that down to 5 minutes.
Oh, that is very nice, especially for an avid DOFfer. It's a nice little perk for getting around.
So by the time you've finished your DOFF activities, you can go off to the next sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's kind of really up my alley. I like that one.
There's one little tip in here that's not in here. Can I run it? Can I jump in?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
During certain events, like when the lithium mining event came around, you get like a free transwarp button in the event calendar that you can use, and sometimes you can use that to transwarp from one spot to another. Because when you can like return to ESD or somewhere else, it's not often, but when it's around, it's like a really free, quick zoom from one spot to the other.
That's a great one. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think. To add to that, Brooklyn, I believe some people, they use certain missions, either Foundry or cryptic ones, that will actually take you to a given sector. If you really wanted to be lazy, you could just have a mission for each sector block and transwarp, although I think there is some energy credit cost.
Yeah, you would have to pay up on the energy credits a little bit.
You could do that if you wanted to.
I guess so. All right, sir.
And you were saying earlier, Chris, the Odyssey cruiser has a double quantum slipstream, although last time I checked, the cooldown, the actual cooldown charge on the quantum slipstream isn't there. So it looks like you're on an infinite quantum slipstream.
Yeah, yeah. The quantum slipstream travel at warp 20 for 60 seconds instead of the normal 30 seconds. But yeah, I did it the other day, and it's like, oh, this is never ending. This is great.
Yeah, I had to disappoint someone in the fleet when they thought, "Oh wow, infinite slipstream." It's like, no,
that would be awesome though. All right, now we got one more on here, right?
Yeah, I believe it's Soraka's star charts.
Yes, sir.
That can also help you with where to go in game and most efficient ways of cutting sector blocks.
Yeah, I'm showing it on the video version of the show right now, and if you folks haven't seen this, this is just such great work. I would love to get. I actually do have a poster version of one of the very original ones that I was very fortunate to get, but I think he should sell these in posters all the time because they are wall-worthy stuff. And you can look at it and be like, okay, here, and it helps you sort of get a good memory of the layout of sector space. So it's very cool stuff. All right, well, where does that take us now, gentlemen?
We've got some assignment chains and other goodies in our guide. Assignment chains, basically, it's a series of DOFF assignments that are linked together where you must complete one mission before unlocking the next. When you reach the end of a chain, there's often a special reward, such as a rare or very rare duty officer, like the exploration chains, which are repeatable for those, Mark 12 consoles, unique food items, player titles, and all sorts of other various delectable goodies. Mission completion is typically the only thing that matters. Success or failure isn't considered, so you don't have to worry there all the time. The most important chain at the moment is probably still the colonial chain. There's one chain in every exploration cluster, Federation and Klingon, and it's the longest of them. And well, no, there's one that's longer, but it's the hardest to complete because each one is an individual chain, and the availability of each level rotates for each individual sector.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so those are also the most popular to complete because you get 2 duty officers out of them. A rare for doing the renown and a very rare for doing the support that comes after, but you have to crit on it. It's not like you
okay.
Yeah, you have to crit to get the very rare. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I just covered that. Okay, you'll get basically once you've done every single colonial sector, you'll get 14 rare and 14 very rare duty officers, and it's a great roster to build on. And again, the very rare ones, you can get more than one. They're not unique. So every time you crit in a given sector, you'll get another one of those.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, and the support mission also rewards refugees, which are highly coveted for the asylum missions that appear all over sector space. And these asylum missions, basically, you turn in the refugee, and you get back a green, blue, or purple DOFF of that particular race. And they have traits that help you and all the stuff. But it doesn't include the new Gamma Quadrant races. They have their own stuff. You're going to need a lot of colonists for these chains, 168 per character, to be precise. So start collecting them whenever you can.
Okay.
Sometimes on the exchange you can get them for as little as 100K a pop, but occasionally they've gone to as over 1 million.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what the market is right now, but that's with past experience.
Okay.
Other than that, there are resettle colonist assignments that are available over practically everywhere, which will give you 5 colonists every time, but it can only be restarted every 28 hours. So there's a cooldown timer on that little one.
Man,
yeah. Now, onto colonists, they're stored separately from your DOFF roster in a spare tab, but they can only hold 20. So when you run out of space, if you want more, just mail them to yourself. You could put 5 per email. So just go to a mailbox, throw 5 of them in there, mail them to yourself, and you can either use them for alts or just use the mail as a storage system for that.
Yeah. That's a good idea, really.
What to do with all that space on an Odyssey class ship?
Right.
Decks.
Yeah. There's got to be plenty of room there.
Now you're going to need a certain amount of the various commodities, and there's a spreadsheet with all the commodities that you'll need and the prices and the different places and stuff like that. The cheapest are freighters that fly around sector space. But if you follow the sheet, and I'm sure we're going to have a link to it in the notes, you're going to basically save yourself 238,700 energy credits per character.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, for the free per accounts, that's actually a pretty penny since they're limited to how much they can have.
Yeah.
But for more long-time players that play the market, that's like a Trump level drop in the bucket.
I don't know. I guess. I'm poor, so.
Well, I'll give you that amount if you need it, Chris.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to lend you some EC. If you can place the purchased commodities in your bank, so you don't have to carry them around, and but they can fill up real fast. So you might want to buy some additional bank slots or anything like that if you need it. But now you can get a lot of them from your replicator. The problem is they're very expensive. So if you do it that way. So you want to buy them in all the cheap places, store them in your bank.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Right, now, if you follow the 2 of each profession method on your DOFF roster, you'll run into some problems on certain steps of the chain that require technicians or quartermasters. So you want more of those around until you finish your chains. So you might want to keep 4 more. And again,
technicians and quartermasters. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Those are required for the chains, but at least to get high rolls on them. But again, you might be flying around doing other stuff as well. So depending on how big of a DOFF fanatic you are, a DOFF fanatic you are.
A Doffer?
A Doffer. Doff. Yeah. You might want even more, but again, every person's play style is different. It's also noteworthy that Klingons can't get into Delta Volantis until they reach Marauding rank 3, and Federation players can't enter Klingon space until they have Diplomacy rank 3. Though there are plenty of players in the game that have the ability to grant diplomatic immunity, which we mentioned earlier in the speed portion of this. Mm-hmm. And if you ask in the DOFF Jobs channel or in the Accolades channel or in I'm sure any global channel that you're in. To be honest, where you have a community of close-knit friends, someone should be able to give you diplomatic immunity to give you access to the zone. Okay. So it's not that difficult to get in. Okay. It just takes patience. The Consular Authority chain that was released with the Gamma Quadrant C-Store packs is basically the way that they give away the free they give away the new DOFFs for free through this method. They're basically a number of chains that will grant you Bajorans, Cardassians, Wadi, Dosi, and Karima DOFF officers. And they're the only free way to get the Resolve trait, aside from buying them in the exchange, of course, that will give you better chances for a lot of the new assignments. And stuff like that. Now, these chains, they don't include the Jem'Hadar, Vorta, Task, or Hunters that only seem to be available in the C-Store.
C-Store, yeah. Funny how that works. Surprise, surprise. Okay.
Now, we're gonna go over some of the types of chains in a little bit more detail now, just to give you guys a little in-depth look at what they are. Biochemical investigations. These come in 6 variants, which each one provides a different Gamma Quadrant commodity and completion reward for special ground consumables. They can be picked up from any of the DS9 zones. Okay. Biogenic weaponization is a 2-part chain that unlocks a repeatable 45-minute assignment that grants elevated commodity XP rewards over better rewards over similar shorter duration assignments, like 98 experience. The initial assignment can be picked up from the Klingon Academy, making it KDF only.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, some of the few things that only the KDF gets. So hold on to that, boys. Children's toys. This is one of my favorite new chains. It's a 4-part assignment chain that grants green, blue, or purple Mark II random consoles when you complete it. The first part drops a strange alien artifact, and it can be gotten in most of the Cardassian sectors. And the remaining parts of the chain are unlocked from your science officer and engineering officer on your ship. Basically, once you complete the chain, you'll have a power powered alien artifact. And each stage of the artifact you can get on the exchange as well between 500,000 and 3 million. It's varied.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't. Once you've unlocked the entire chain and have access to all the missions, if you don't want to wait, because there's a long cooldown on the repeatable mission. It's 3-day cooldown on children's toys to get the first part that you need.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to wait and you want to constantly churn these out and you're sitting on a decent amount of money, you buy the stockpile of each chain and you feed each of them through as you're running each one. So once you churn out a console, you're also going to churn out a new a new powered artifact, and you're going to churn out a new infused artifact, and that way you can just keep going, presuming you found the DOFFs that you want. And if you don't use the Mark 12s, turn around and put them on the exchange.
And Zero Bang in the chat room is mentioning that 3-day cooldown is going to possibly be reduced to a 1-day cooldown.
Yes, if you guys remember back to our interview with Heretic, he hinted that he would like it 1 day, but it wasn't locked down.
Right.
So that 1 day is what everyone's cheering for. We think that's a decent, compromise.
Yeah.
Personally, I think 18 hours good enough, but
I think a half hour's fine, maybe 15 minutes.
Right. I mean, they do need to keep a hold on the market. Because otherwise, I mean, look, the only other way to churn them out faster is, again, to use your alt counts, but that involves work.
Right. Yeah.
All right. We already mentioned the colonization chains, which unlock the refugee, and they also unlock prisoner assignments in the exploration clusters. And so we already went over the colonization earlier in depth, and we got most of that out of the way. So there's also a new chain that you get mostly on your ships or personal tab. It's the Culinary Credentials. It's a 5-part chain which unlocks repeatable assignments for elevated CXP rewards and unlocks the title Chef and Master Chef. And the initial assignments picked up within your ship. You can check the galley, and the chef and bartender will typically be there.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Now, then there's the Colonial Team chain, which comes in 4 variants with 3 assignments in each aligned to the 4 Gamma Quadrant species mentioned previously: Karimans, Paradans, Dosi, and Wad-Eye. Each one unlocks a very high CXP assignment in the Zenith Expanse, and the initial assignments picked up in the Cardassian sectors. Moving on to the Consular Authority missions. It's a 4-part chain with 7 variants. Again, there's the Bajorans, Karimans, Paradans, Cardassians, Dosi, Pharisians, and Wadians. Wadians?
The Wadi.
Wad-Eye?
The Wad-Eye. The Wad-Eye, probably, yeah.
Yeah. Completion opens up a DOFF exchange assignment where you can swap existing DOFFs from one species to another. And basically, it's a good way to get those new races as well. You're basically swapping from one race to another.
Wadi.
The initial assignment is up again in the Cardassian sectors.
Okay.
Just like just like the chef missions, there's extreme bartending.
I love this one.
I know it's a 5-part chain where the bartender gets to show off some of their skills and unlock repeatable bartender assignments. The 4th part grants the bartender title, and the 5th grants master bartender. But I think you need to crit on that one.
Okay, to become a master bartender.
Right. Now, if you go down the list, there's my favorite one: talk captain out of poor choices of professional action.
Right.
I love that one. It's just great. The next one on the list, which was also unlocked with the new update, the Facility 4028 fugitives. When we broke in to when we were at Facility 4028
in the last featured episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was a prison break, and now you got to help chase down some of those prisoners, and for that you send your DOFFs. Nice. So it's a 5-part chain which yields Gamma Quadrant commodities and rare Gamma Quadrant duty officers. The initial assignment can be picked up in the regular sector and sometimes in the sectors around it.
There you go. That looks like a fun one, just because it's a playoff of something we've done in game, which I like the idea that something in game impacts the DOFF system, even in sort of a outside way.
Now, keep in mind, one of them does cost contraband. So if you're farming contraband for dilithium, you're going to take a little hit on your stuff there.
Okay.
Next up, gaming proficiency. A little DOFF chain they put in there for those of you that want to sit on your Intent Forward and play tri-level chess. It basically unlocks the
Strategema, yeah.
master title upon completion, and it can be picked up aboard your ship.
Do you remember Strategema? It's the game that Data played against the War Master guy, where you put the thing on your fingers and you. That's Strategema, I think, right?
I guess.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All
right. Sorry. Moving on.
I'd like to see that game that they played on Voyager a lot with the holographic, like, little magnetic rods, and you put them in this order to try and get the thing to complete itself.
Right.
7 of 9 played it a lot with Tuvok and with and Naomi Wildman.
The logic puzzle.
Yeah. I would love to see something like that as a mini game.
There you go. Peregrine Falcon has it. Yeah, that's what it was. It was Data, and it was at peak performance. Actually, a good episode. We've actually featured clips from it on the show before. But all right, continue on, Brooklyn.
Yes. Next up is the Ghost of Jem'Hadar chain. One of my 2 or 3 favorite new chains. It's a part chain, so that unlocks a whole bunch of repeatable assignments, and the 10th in the list unlocks a named purple DOFF, a unique one that you get when you finish the 10th mission.
Very cool.
Get your very own gull.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
I don't know. Something like this seems like it should be a diplomat or a bridge officer, but it's a DOFF.
Yeah. It seems like it should be more, but he's got to start him somewhere. It's a different school of training, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So next up is Project Chrysalis. It's a 6-part chain that unlocks a bunch of repeatable missions. You get a lot of good science. Let me tell you, get great science experience from doing these repeatables, and a purple DOFF at the end. Now, by the way, for the Ghost of Jem'Hadar, I believe they just the Gultane, they just added resolve to him. It was missing before, and the Project Chrysalis DOFF also has resolve. He's actually pretty good for the Mark 12 console chain, I think.
Okay.
From Project Chrysalis, so you definitely want to do that chain. Next up is Instigate Defection, assignments that can be used to pick up DOFFs from the opposite faction. I think there are 2 versions of this now, but I'm not sure offhand.
Interesting. Okay.
There's the original Instigate Defection where you get someone from the Klingon side, and the new one might be a Dominion Defection.
Oh, okay. Sure.
I'm not up to date on that. I should be. I'm embarrassed.
That's all right. It's all right. You've been doing good so far.
Transfer one?
Maybe, but that might be a separate one, because the mission that dropped the prisoners for that, the Dominion prisoners, has been bugged. Maybe someone in the channel can update us. But one of the missions that drops the DOFF you need to pull one out wasn't working properly.
Oh, okay. All right.
Next up, Extricate Intelligence Asset can be used to pick up DOFFs also from the opposite faction, and for the Fed assignment can be picked up in the Klingon bordering sectors, and vice versa for the KDF. So I guess the KDF can pick it up practically anywhere.
Yeah. It's good for them. I don't mind. The KDF need a handout every now and then. They kind of have it rough.
Yeah, they do. Reclaim assimilated Borg drones. It's kind of a stepchild in the DOFF missions. Originally, it didn't yield anything, and then they gave us a pity DOFF. You can get a green or a blue DOFF from the assignment, which can be picked up in Sirius or Regulus sectors.
Okay.
Though the community has been asking for not only making it lowering the duration, but throwing in a possible purple DOFF in there too, with reclaimed drones. The thing is, you can get purple Borg DOFFs. You can buy them. So we already went over that, remember? Mm-hmm. The Investigate Temporal Anomaly is a one-off, very rare mission, which will give you a Guinan DOFF, basically.
Aha!
Yeah.
An Elorian?
Yes, it's an Elorian bartender. And
does it have a great hat?
No, it doesn't have a hat. She doesn't have a hat, unfortunately. But once you do it, it disappears forever. However, she's not unique, so you can buy her on the exchange, and you can farm her with you can just keep making Freeper accounts and finding it, and sending it to yourself. So or not even Freeper accounts. You could just keep making new characters, pulling the mission.
Right.
So however many times you want her, you're more than welcome to her. Believe Silver, it's your turn, right?
Okay, so two of the tabs that we have for the DOFF system is active space and active ground rosters. These are DOFFs which you technically take out of your availability roster for doing DOFF assignments, but you can put them on your ship that can almost act like BOFFs. They will give you special abilities.
Right. This is one of my favorite features of the DOFF system, actually.
The general list would be you've got your passive abilities, which automatically reduce transport cooldowns. You've got chances of beaming in additional support, and then you've got your abilities, which are a secondary buff. So, like with the tactical team, it reduces the cooldown, but it also gives you an added enhancement of another ability.
Yeah, that's a really great way, because if I do it right and I take the right DOFFs out, I can enhance my everyday gameplay and then still plug away the DOFF system and enhance both. I like that.
Okay.
Any other closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Okay. The new DOFF that was thrown in with Friday the 13th mission is the first advisor with an active power, and he reduces the psionic power cooldown by 15%. But then he also reduces recharge time by 15%. So that might be a typo. It's not 100% clear on what. Yeah, exactly.
I kind of thought so. In the tooltip, right? It says one thing in the tooltip, and then when you bring it up in the actual DOFF system, it says something different. Is that right? Is that where the confusion's coming from?
It says both. It says both in that one. When you bring it up in the window, it says that it reduces psionic power cooldown by 15% and recharge time by 15%. So maybe they'll fix it. Maybe it's both. Who knows? Maybe. Now, a few other quick miscellaneous tips, and then we can do the helpful resources. The Facility 4028 Biochemist Reward DOFF, when you add him to your active roster, you will allow you to produce Ketracel White for the Jem'Hadar Bridge Officer. Someone actually asked me about that in the chat room last week, and I didn't know that fact. So I apologize. That was a mess up on my part. I didn't remember.
We covered that in Stoked, sir. We covered that in Stoked.
And CXP boosts obtained from the C-Store unlock boxes provide you with a way to double your rewards from up to 1K to 10K. The Helmna Duty Officer, I think from doing the Arcanus Arm. I'm not 100% sure.
Arcanus Arm, yes.
Yes. It was taken from the popular Foundry character created by Havara of podcast UGC fame. So that's a little shout out in the game to her. And you can pick up this homage DOFF via the Colonial Chain.
Okay.
Now, we, all this guide, everything we did here, we could not do without the community. It's not just, those Jupiter Force members plugging away at it. It's the community resources we use that have been put together by the fans of this game. So a major, major, major thank you and goes out to Zero Bang and Lucas Purcell of the DOFF Jobs channel, and for their help with putting everything together, and of course the new DOFF Calls channel for that. Let's not forget the awesome spreadsheet and DOFF Jobs tracker that they've put together for tracking all of this.
The DOFF tracker version 2.0.
Yes. And an awesome little thing is they've even added read alert announcements to the tracker. It's hilarious.
That's adorable.
So whenever it pops up at the top, you're going to have like a little read alert. So, Stoked announcements go in there, any like important news of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, I can't forget, it'd be a crime if I didn't the Accolades Global channel, which
right.
A lot of help from there for general knowledge and for stuff like that. And STO Wiki.
Of course.
You've been seeing a lot of it in this episode, and a lot of our information already came from STO Wiki. They've been plugging away at the game for the longest time, trying to get every bit of info they can.
I've watched these guys from the beginning, when they launched, and just an awesome community resource. Just totally one of the best resources we have out there is STO Wiki. STOwiki.org for the win.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that it? That's our advanced DOFF guide right there, right, gentlemen?
I think so. That's
and there's more information in the show notes, lots of more information, further links to a lot of the things we covered on Stowe Wiki. You can find all of that there over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. Just look for episode 119 and then scroll down below the video and you will see it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on here and busting through that with us. And good
Thank
work.
you for having us.
You bet. All right, everyone. Well, I want to thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Stoked. We're live, and you can join our chat room who's talking DOFFs this week at jblive.tv on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific. And then we release this show for download on Tuesdays over at jupiterbroadcasting.com in just about any format you could possibly ever want, including RSS feeds that you can subscribe to get this show automatically without even having to worry about it. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of Stoked, and we'll see you right back here next week. So, small, but I guess that's kind of a feature now, huh? Oh my gosh, are you serious? Hololita's in here. Love it. Stoked 119. The first segment of the day. Oh, this is the advanced DOFF guide tactic. It's about to be a ruckus in here.